Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'll call to order the Transportation Infrastructure and Innovation Subcommittee, and council members Pastor and Stark are online, as well as Vice Mayor Guardo. First item, our call to the public. Matthew, do we have calls?
We have no one for the general call to the public, Chairwoman.
Thank you. We will then go to minutes of the previous meeting of November 4th. I have a correction, amendment, or a motion.
I move item number 1, minutes of the meeting on November 4th, 2020.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed, say nay. Minutes pass unanimously. We go to items, the consent items 2 through 6. Does anyone have any questions? Do I have a motion?
I move items 2 through 6.
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Takes them to item 7, which is information only. Does anyone have any questions on 7, 8, or 9?
Councilwoman Williams,
Yes?
I have one on item 9.
Okay.
And let me quickly look at something before.
This is on the freeway program.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure because there's a freeway piece happening. And I'm trying to see if this is the one in my district. No, it's not. Thank you. Oh, yes, it is. Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Oh,
It's on page
Your
35.
question?
I want to report on the Indian School traffic interchange study. But we can do this next time if we want.
it's your preference, whichever way.
Okay, we'll just go right now real quick.
Okay, Mario, do you have somebody can give it to us?
Madam Chair, if we can follow up with the members of the subcommittee to give an update with you, Councilwoman Pastor, on this project, the I-17 Indian School Traffic Interchange Study, we would be able to give greater detail in a briefing with you, if that's okay.
That is fine.
Councilwoman Pastor?
That is fine, but I
Okay.
also, in the future, Mario, maybe we discuss it so that people know what's going to be happening on that interchange, and also the Interstate 17 and Central Avenue Bridge reconstruction.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Chairwoman,
Okay.
this is Matt. We
Yes.
have Walt Gray signed up to speak, I believe, on items 7, 8, and 9.
Oh. All right, let's go back to item 7.
Mr. Gray, are you on the line?
Yes.
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Wonderful, thank you. I have comments on 7, 8, and 9, and I'd like to combine them if it's all right with Chairwoman Williams. They all relate. My comments all relate. Basically, I'd like a report on 7 that is similar to 9, where there's comments or a summary of the work of the Regional Transportation Authority and the Citizens Transportation Commission. There's no update on what these meetings involved, other than having to read the entire minutes. Seems to me, as in item number 9, there is commentary on the various items, and I think that's good. I'd like to see that and I'd like to request the actual copies of similar commentary or 2-paragraph summaries of items 7 and 8. I'd also appreciate, since I live on the west side, a copy of the report that will be made to Councilwoman Guardado about the interchanges. And so appreciate that. If you will approve that for me, I will greatly appreciate it and end my comments.
Thank you very much. I'm sure staff can send that to you.
Thank you very much, Councilwoman Williams.
You're welcome. Is that our only caller, Matt?
Yes, Chairwoman.
Okay, then we will go to item 10. I think we have a staff report.
Yes, Madam Chair. Item 10 is the Water Resources Infrastructure and Financial Plans, presented by Karen Peters, Deputy City Manager, along with Chief Financial Officer Denise Olson and Interim Water Services Director Eric Froberg. I'll turn it over to Karen.
Good morning, Chairwoman and members of the subcommittee. I'm here today, as Mario indicated, with Interim Water Services Director Eric Froberg and Chief Financial Officer Denise Olson. We're before you today to provide an update regarding the water and wastewater utilities financial plans that support our operating and capital improvement programs, and to seek your input. Quick introduction, of course. Phoenix Water Services delivers clean and reliable drinking water to 1.7 million customers and treats wastewater for 2.5 million residents every day. These services are essential to the community's quality of life, economic development, public health, and environmental sustainability. In support of those objectives, each year the Water Services and Finance Departments develop a 5-year financial plan for the water and wastewater utilities, which we use to forecast any rate adjustments necessary to recover the costs of operating a safe and reliable system, as well as maintaining high-quality bond ratings and ensuring system reliability through rehabilitation and replacement of aging infrastructure. We have a healthy utility today due to the leadership of the council, and want to express our appreciation for that. With that, Denise will walk us through those financial plans, and Eric will describe the capital projects potentially impacted by the plans.
Thank you. Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. The first slide I want to talk about, as Karen mentioned, is we do have strong bond ratings for both the water and wastewater systems. I just want to point out that these strong bond ratings of AAA help us finance the infrastructure, which is significant for both of these systems. It helps us finance this infrastructure at very low rates, so it costs us less to borrow the money. So this is a very important factor, and it's also an indication of how these systems are very financially strong and stable, and that is going into the future. I want to start with the wastewater financial plan real quickly. On the wastewater financial plan, what we're seeing is the existing revenues are significant enough to where they can support our CIP for the 5-year period. This supports a $312 million pay-as-you-go program, and it also supports a $200 million bond sale that we're projecting in the year 22-23. The $200 million bond sale is for northern projects. Now, I just want to stress that the CIP is evaluated every single year, but as of today, we are showing no potential rate increases. Want to move on to the water plan. So on the water financial plan, I have a lot to talk about on this slide, so bear with me. We want to remind the subcommittee what you saw in previous water financial plans. When we last showed this to you, we were looking at 2 6% rate increases for fiscal year 19 and 20, which were implemented. We were also showing you in the out years to support their CIP program of rate increases that amount to 3.5% for the next 3 years. What we're looking at in this financial forecast is, again, we implemented the 6% rate increases. But what we're looking at this fiscal year for 2021 is a 0% rate increase, and this is due to the pandemic. And then in 2022, we're looking at a 6.5%, and then 3.5% in out years. This financial plan supports about a $1.7 billion CIP program, of which we're looking at 2 bond sales of about $400 million. One bond sale would take place in November of 22, and the second one would take place in November of 2025, or maybe the spring of 2025, excuse me. One thing that I want to point out on this slide, or a couple things I want to point out, is number one, we are going to be asking the council for authorization to do a major refinancing plan of existing debt. This would take place in the spring of 2021. This refinancing could save the water system about $30 million, and we would like to put that savings in the first 5 years, so that would provide relief to our ratepayers. The other thing I want to point out is if you look at this, there is a slight revenue requirement reduction here, and this is due to the water department's hard work in decreasing their operation and maintenance cost. That's helping the financial plan going into the future. The other thing that I want to point out is we are seeing some additional revenues this fiscal year, which are really only one time, and that is due to our hot, dry weather. This delayed impact of having a 0% rate increase this year and a 6.5% rate increase next year does impact the CIP program, in that we would have to delay about $100 million of CIP projects. There is an alternative if we don't do a delayed rate increase due to the pandemic. We could do a 3% rate increase this fiscal year, and then a 3.5% rate increase effective in March of 2022. So there is an option there. But to talk more about the $100 million delayed CIP projects, I will turn it over to Eric.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. And thank you, Denise. As Denise mentioned, to implement the 0% plan rate increase this time, there would be about $100 million worth of projects that would have a delay. The next 3 slides, we will briefly go over just graphically the projects and the types of projects and the locations of the projects that would be delayed. If we start here in the northern part of Phoenix and districts 1 and 2, you can see the magenta dots and the text that's there. These dots represent individual sites, either booster sites, well sites, steel tanks, concrete reservoirs, those types of things. These are programs that are citywide, so you'll see some of the numbers happen there more than once, and that's just because they are similar type improvements that we would be improving. If we move to the center part of Phoenix, here you can see now, again, a lot of the individual sites are still being part of that program. I would say that this $100 million that would be deferred is over 45 different projects or programs. But you can see once you get away from some of the individual sites, you can see in District 3 kind of the higher concentration of color there. Those are water main replacement projects. You can see there's one in District 3, there's one in District 6, there's one that runs through District 5 that's associated with light rail. If we go to the southern part here, again, you can see the water main replacement projects are more prevalent in District 7 and District 8. I would like to say, too, that as we did the briefings with the individual council districts, we did talk about these in greater detail and provided lists to the departments for what the actual areas were that would be impacted. I also wanted to mention that as we looked at these projects, these 45 different projects were strategically selected to not put the water distribution system in any jeopardy. These are projects that, again, aren't being canceled. They were just being delayed. So we will be able to not have an impact on the overall system and not have an impact of the vision and mission of the Water Services Department of delivering safe, clean drinking water. And with that, I will hand it back to Karen, and she'll take us home.
Okay, thank you, Denise and Eric. So we had this conversation with the Citizens Water and Wastewater Rate Advisory Committee this fall, and it was quite a conversation. It did not go as smoothly as perhaps it could have, but the first conversation we had was in September, where we recommended the 0% water revenue increase, and they were concerned. They're concerned on behalf of the infrastructure and wanted more information. So we met again on October 10th. And at that meeting, Chief Financial Officer was there to present in some detail the financial plan and what we are doing, what we are proposing to do to accommodate the 0% increase. At that meeting, they did vote by 6-2 to recommend the 0% revenue increase for FY21. But they wanted very clearly to emphasize to the council that recommendation is based upon the five-year water financial plan that includes a 6.5% revenue increase for FY22 and then 3.5% increases in each of the following 3 years. In addition, they endorsed the 0% wastewater revenue increase for FY21 based upon that financial plan, which forecasts 0% for each of the future 5 years. So with that, Chairwoman, members of the subcommittee, staff is putting forward the recommendation of the Water and Wastewater Rate Advisory Committee based on the financial plans presented. Where I'm going, I don't know, there we are. And requests that the Transportation Infrastructure and Innovation Subcommittee recommend to City Council approval of the 0% revenue increase and water revenue increase and 0% wastewater revenue increase for FY21. We're happy to discuss this recommendation and the alternative that Denise briefly touched on, but look forward to any questions that you have.
Councilwoman Stark, did you have a question?
I'm trying to unmute myself. Not a question, but more a statement. I think given COVID-19 and a lot of people are struggling financially, I think this is a good recommendation and I would support it. Thank you.
Chairwoman?
Yes. Go ahead.
Yeah, so our office had requested to see a few options to be proposed on for rate changes. We appreciate the effort to alleviate the economic burden on our residents during the COVID times, but we also do not want to be in a place where we come in 2022, they are seeing a drastic rate increase either. Do you all have alternative options you can present to us today, or is it something that we can see later? Just because we don't want to say, okay, we're not going to increase now, or we're only going to increase, this much, and then 2022 comes and people are really upset because we're charging them a lot more money. Are those options? Do you guys have those options?
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman and Vice Mayor. Indeed, in response to the questions that we received from your office and others, we did think through a few ways to do this alternatively. In light of COVID, we want to be very sensitive to the needs of the community, but I want to show you the alternative that Denise very briefly touched on. I'm getting my slides. Whoops. Denise mentioned the potential for a 3% increase in FY21, followed by 3.5% in '22. That is an alternative that works financially, and we could accommodate doing that with an effective date in 2021 of October 1st in light of the pandemic, and hopefully, we all hope that by that time the worst of it is behind us. So I wanted to present this for your consideration as well. And Denise can address the details of the finances if you'd like.
Karen?
Yes.
Hilda, if we were to go with the 3% and we directed you to begin the process, because we have to have a lengthy hearing on it, I believe, it really wouldn't go into effect till October, is that correct?
Chairwoman, yes, the state law requires a process that's a little bit different than our typical rates and fees process for other things that we do here at the city. And yes, there is a requirement that the council adopt a notice of intent to increase water rates, and that is 60 days prior to a public hearing and council decision on that proposal. So yes, there is a process involved with that if the council is inclined, we could initiate. It would take about 3 months to get through the process.
Councilwoman Williams? Councilwoman Williams, it's Councilwoman Pastor.
I think
Okay,
she's freezing.
I'm
Why don't you
playing
go
with the
ahead?
mute button. Go ahead.
Okay. Ms. Peters, can you repeat what you said? I'm not understanding, because I don't have that option on my packet of 2021 of it being at 3%.
Thank you, Councilwoman
Are you-
Pastor. Denise can speak to that, and we also have some details on the timeline as well.
Yes, thank you. So I just want to add a little bit more detail on these proposals. Number one, we have a little bit of a tweak we need to do to the last option that we just talked about. What we could do, instead of having a 0% rate increase and then a 6.5% rate increase next fiscal year, is we could do a 3% rate increase in October, which would be fiscal year 21-22, and then another 3.5% rate increase in March of 2022. Those two rate increases, those two options bring in the same amount of revenue at the end of the day to support the $1.7 billion CIP. So those rate increases are directly related to the debt service payments that we would have to pay to support the CIP program. If we do anything different than that, we would have to make some adjustments to the CIP program. Now, the 3 and the 3.5% is actually a footnote on the table that we presented to you. It's on the water financial plan as a footnote for your information.
Denise, this is Councilwoman Pastor. Councilwoman Williams, can I ask questions?
Go ahead.
Okay. As I'm looking at studying the chart that's on the camera, can you go back to that chart? Not that chart, the original one, the one that was just on there right now. Okay, so you're saying in 2021, we would do a rate increase of 3% starting October?
Yes, Councilwoman Pastor, that is correct. So what we would propose is we're proposing the 0% and then the 6.5%. But the other option is we could do a 3% effective October of 2021. and then another 3.5% in March of 2022. And that's what that last column is showing you.
Okay, because if I'm looking at that column, and then I'm looking at the column, the request of 6.5. So basically, we're still gonna do a 3.0 in October 2021. Then we'll be back on target at 2022 at a 3.5. We're still on the chart. We're still moving at the 3 points. The way I'm reading it is the reason why we're going in October is because we should have had this discussion earlier regarding the rate increase, so that then it would have hit 2021 in March or April, May, whenever we have these dialogues, and then we would still be on track for 2022. Am I understanding this correctly?
Yes, Councilwoman, I would say you're understanding it correctly. One thing that we try to avoid is raising rates in summer months. So we don't really want to have a rate increase in months June, July, and August, and so that's why we end up in October with that 3%.
Okay, but in the past, we've done it, haven't we?
We typically have raised rates in March and April.
Okay. Thank you. Now, is there a possibility to do a 0% and then just stick with our 3.5?
So the rate increases of the 6.5% supports the debt service that we're required to have to support the $1.7 billion CIP 5-year infrastructure program. Any lesser rate increases would result in cuts to the CIP for the water department, which are options that can be presented to the council.
Yeah, because we could then rank what is the top priority to do this CIP, and what does the infrastructure look like in this area. So we would be able to have that option with the CIP. Am I understanding that correctly?
That is correct. If the council chooses to have lower rate increases, we would propose adjustments or cuts to the CIP program.
Okay. So I'm just going to put this on the record because I have difficulty. As every year we talked about rate increases, specifically last year. And what I'm told is that we need to increase to maintain our infrastructure, to make sure everything is running and moving the water through. And basically the sky is falling because if we don't do this, this is what's going to happen. So I'm struggling with this conversation right now because in my mindset, and I know we're in a pandemic, but we're also going to be trying to get out of a pandemic next year. And we don't know what our reality looks like on revenues and jobs and really what this pandemic has done to us in a financial way. So then I struggle with, well, let's continue to build in our infrastructure and maintain our infrastructure because we put higher percentage rates because in the recession, we stopped investing in our infrastructure. So it's a catch-22 at this moment on how we move and how we shift and make it happen. I think a 6%, some people don't think it's 6% is high, but I think a 6% is high to do next year because we don't know what our reality is going to look like in the United States regarding jobs, and if we can pull ourselves back up at the level that we need to in order to operate at that percentage rate. So I struggle. I want to be able to have many different options. My option would be to do 0% and then stay at 3.5. And let the council decide, what CIP projects, what CIP projects are most important. But I don't know, I'm one person out of 8 of us, or 9 of us.
Chairwoman, I'm sorry, are you
Yes.
done, Councilwoman? Sorry.
Vice Mayor?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, I think I would agree with Councilwoman Pastor. Like, I guess, so a couple questions that just for staff. Are people at this point paying their water bill? Like, how much of a water bill debt do we have right now?
Thank you, Chairwoman, Vice Mayor. Indeed, most of our customers are still paying their water bills, thankfully, but there are a few that are not able to. As of last week, I should say, because these numbers do fluctuate. As of last week, in terms of residential accounts, we had under 11,000 accounts that were delinquent, and the amount of that delinquency is approximately $2.9 million. Commercial and industrial accounts bring up the delinquency to about 3.9. And again, that as of last week, the numbers do tend to change week by week over the course of a given billing month.
And I mean, I agree. I think that I appreciate the fact that in 2021, we're saying it's a 0% increase, just because I do think that we need to give our constituents time to be able, hopefully next year, they'll be able to clear all of their water debt, their gas debt, their electricity debt. Like, I just think they're just gonna have a lot of debt next year once people start getting into jobs and there's a vaccine and things start moving in the right direction again. I do believe that I don't want to put the city at a point where in 6 years you guys are going to come back and say, hey, listen, we need you guys to do this now because of the CIP projects that we had to stop. Like, obviously, like, I don't want to put the city or our water services in a place, in a dangerous place. I don't want to do that. But I do like the idea of trying to figure out if we can move that 6.5 to a 3.5, and then maybe trying to prioritize the projects that we really need to get done now, because it puts water services in danger, and then trying to figure out, and then maybe we can look at this every year and then maybe make changes depending where the economy is at, depending where folks are at. Then we can, so I think that it'd be good, like Councilwoman Pastor said, like, look at many different options, what are best, middle, and worst case scenarios, so that we can all make that decision as a council, and then everyone can see what are the different options that are there. But I do believe that even in 2022, that if we were not in the middle of a COVID, I would say, like, it's still a little high, but I'm sure people could live with it. But right now, given that in 2022, I still believe people are still going to be catching up because they've been out of work for such a long time. And given, that there's a lot of people that are only making less than $200 a week right now with unemployment, I think it'd be good to see those options.
Aaron, do we still have funds available, the COVID funds, for those that have had trouble paying their bills? Could this be applied?
Thank you, Chairwoman, members of the subcommittee. So the CARES program that assists residents with utility payments is reaching its end. As we all know, the CARES Act funding expires this month. And so there are very limited options at this point for CARES support of utilities for our residents. We do, of course, have Project Assist, as we have historically had, and that's administered through our Human Services Department for those that are income eligible for assistance.
Chairwoman, I have another question.
Go ahead.
So, I think there's been a couple of us that have been asking, this question for a while. And I think, I know that Jeff has said absolutely not. But could we, given, that we are in the middle of this pandemic, and I'm going to ask it one more time, even though maybe Jeff is probably going to want to kill me. It's like, why couldn't, given that people cannot pay their bill because we're in the middle of a pandemic, why can't we use, the COVID dollars to pay for this, Like if we said, they still have to show proof that they're paying their water bill. Let's say, Mike Angulo comes in and says, I need help to pay for this. Why can't we just wipe out that debt? Or is there a way to make it work? I guess one more, I'm gonna ask you one more time.
Vice Mayor, this is Denise. I think that one of the issues we're really facing right now, and I do agree with Jeff on this, is we are not going to be able to use the money for that purpose, but we're really running out of time. Again, these funds expire at the end of December.
Denise, I understand that we're running out of time, but the time hasn't ended. So what would it take for us to do that action? Or what is the process to have that happen? Is the process is what's cumbersome, or reconciling that's cumbersome? I need to understand, because in my mind, we have till December 31st. And then January 10th is when we turn in our reports. I believe it's to the 10th. So to me, in my mind, we have time. So I want to understand what the process is then.
Thank you. So let me add some further clarification here. So we are running out of time, meaning that we have to actually spend the money by the end of December. But the other, probably the bigger issue is there's very specific guidelines on how we can use the CARES money. And one of those the guidelines say that we cannot use it to replace revenues from a utility. And that's very specific in the guidelines that we're receiving, both from the Treasury and from GFOA. So those are things that we just don't want to push our luck on that, because we do not want to have any problems with the way we used those funds.
Chair, I'm sorry, but, and again, I'm sorry for continue to push this, but we're using it to pay APS and to pay SRP and to pay Southwest Gas.
Okay.
I guess I would just like to hear more about that from someone else from the outside. And it doesn't mean that I don't trust Jeff. It doesn't mean that I don't trust you guys. But I just feel like this is me just being like, there has to be a way that we can figure this out, because we're not, we're helping people pay, we're trying to help people to pay that bill. It's $2.5 million. There's 13 point something million dollars left. They're just, I don't know. I'm sorry. I just think there just has to be a way that we could actually make that happen.
Madam Chair, this is Karen. I'm sorry, if Councilwoman Stark needs to go first, that's completely fine.
I just wanted to follow up on what the Vice Mayor was saying. Is there a way that we can better reach out to our constituents and tell them there's money available? I know there's a process that they have to go through, but is there a way that we can better communicate and get as much money out the door before December 31st? I know there are guidelines. How can we help our residents meet those guidelines quicker? I guess.
So what I can do is I can get with Jeff Barton and talk about this a little bit further. But again, the difference here is our water enterprise fund is under the city government, and so that's where the regulations get a little bit tricky. APS, SRP, those are other utilities beyond the city. So that's where we need to really look at the regulations and see what we can do. Now, we can also put our heads together on maybe other options for our customers, maybe through the water enterprise funds and the finances there and the rate structures there. And so we may be able to look at some options there for the council.
Councilwoman Williams? It's Councilwoman Pastor.
Councilwoman, go ahead.
Okay. So may I suggest to the staff to look into how we can forgive the debt, possibly from the general fund, from the money that's offset by the coronavirus relief, and maybe come back when we have this conversation with the whole council, there is a solution.
Madam Chair, Councilwoman Pastor, of course, well, let's put our heads together and talk to Jeff and the experts on the CARES Act and the Treasury guidance as to what we can do with the CARES dollars versus what we can do with water and wastewater enterprise dollars. We understand the concern and have been on the phone with our customers pretty consistently throughout this pandemic to encourage them and help them through deferred payment opportunities and so on. So we very much want our customers to get relief and have attempted mightily to get the word out to them. There's always more we can do, but let's look at the alternatives with the expertise that we need to make sure that we are within the guidelines that Treasury has indicated, or if there's flexibility in our own funds to do something.
Okay, Councilwoman Williams, I just want to be very clear, and I think Denise understands what I'm saying, is that I want to figure out how we can forgive the debt using the general fund that from the money that has offsetted by the coronavirus relief fund. So I'm not necessarily saying at this moment, let's push and use let's quickly, which I would like to do, but if it's not possible, and Denise could say this process, if it's not possible to quickly use our corona relief funds to pay for the debt, then how do we offset it with our general funds? That's where I'm going, because I'm trying to come up with a solution. Thank you.
I guess that leads me to the question of staff. Should we proceed to identify a rate as we go forward for next year?
Thank you, Chairwoman. It certainly would be helpful to staff to get some direction on how to go forward with a rate. As Denise and Eric have indicated, if the rate is different than that is suggested by the financial plan, we will need to revisit the capital improvement program to make some cuts. And that would be true if we did the 3.5% in lieu of a 6.5% next year. So if we do 0 and 3.5, that does require us to cut the CIP. So the options that we have identified of the 0 and 6.5% or the 3 and 3.5% allow us to maintain the CIP. So those are what we're prepared to talk about today, but to the extent that we are looking at other options, then we would need to bring back different kinds of strategies for the capital programs. And
well,
so,
I get very concerned about cutting the CIP program. We have many challenges with our water, and especially the growth in the north and the far south area, and lack of infrastructure, and the non-dependability of the Colorado River makes me very nervous that we don't have a lot of time to play with options. I think it's important that we stay on target because that's what was driving this program in the beginning. And it's still very real, if not more so than it was. The summer we had, we did not get any rainfall to help fill up most of the natural resources in Arizona, and definitely feeding into Utah and the other states takes even more water away from us. So I think people understand that the infrastructure to get our water, you know, the south half of our city is on SRP. Well, the north half is not. And we have to be able to move that water north. And I'm very, very concerned when we've got a major corporation going up north that's going to use a lot of water, that we have the ability to provide not only the business, but the continuing growing residential properties, that they have ample water sources. So my preference is to do the 3 and 3. That keeps us on a stable going forward. We know where we're going to be, and to use any COVID money that we have on hand to pay off the current debt of people who are not paying their bills. I think I agree that we've got some money there that could go towards utilities. There's got to be a way you can figure out how we can help the people, even though it's a city-run organization. We have the COVID money, and that was one of the very first things we discussed when we talked about spending COVID and how we could do utility bills. And we talked a lot about helping people with city water bill. And I think it's very important that you come back to us and give us some options on how to do that. So that's my comments.
Chairwoman?
Vice Mayor?
Yes, yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more. Like, I just think that, you know, every time we've talked about, you know, we've been talking about it, I don't know, April, May, and I think, you know, we've been pushing, and now we're getting to this point where I either wanna put our CIP in jeopardy. Like, I want to make sure that we're able to do everything that we can. You know, like, I don't want to affect any of that, but I do feel that now the mentality has to be that we need to see a plan on how is it, you know, that with the COVID dollars, we're able to help people pay for their water bill. And I don't know if this needs to go into e-session, if we need, you know, that type of guidance, like, you know, like, but I just think we just have to really figure that out.
Councilwoman Stark, did you have comments?
No, I truly agree with you that shoring up our water infrastructure is critical to our city. And I too think I like the 3 and then the 3.5. I mean, for future generations, we've got to make sure we're moving that water around our city. It's critical. Thanks.
So Chairwoman, to achieve that goal, I think that there are a couple of ways to go. We could initiate the process to bring forward a rate increase along the lines of either the 0 and 6.5 or 3 and 3.5, and then there'd be some further discussion on that. We can go forward to initiate that process. That would entail us bringing a notice of intent to raise rates to the full council, and we could do that in January. And in conjunction with that, to the extent that we would need to prioritize CIP cuts if the council elected not to, we could bring those to you for consideration as well.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
So, I like actually there's 3 options, which Karen stated at the end. I like to see a 0 with a 3.5, and be able to forgive the debt I want to understand, what is the process in forgiving the debt? Or is there a process for forgiving the debt?
I don't know, think they have one at the moment. If Karen, if I understood, we could move this with the, directing you for the intent, and you bring it all back to us in January at the full council meeting, telling us if there is a plan where we can forgive debt.
So there are two components to that. Certainly, we can bring a notice of intent to the full council in January that addresses the rate. The conversation about forgiving the delinquent debt, the water bill debt, is not tied up directly with that, but we can bring that forward as well. I think that we do need to consider all the options, and we will do that.
Okay, because,
We do have,
On this, we don't mess up our bond rating.
yeah, thank you. I was just gonna say, we do have, because this is an enterprise funds with a lot of debt, we do have a lot of legal requirements as far as our revenue. So we can't necessarily forgive debt, but we can look at options, as Karen mentioned earlier, of payment plans and maybe other sources of revenue to pay those bills. So that's something that we can look at, but we cannot legally forgive the debt.
Denise, that's not what I've been told. And I've been told by one of your counterparts, so, that's okay, we can talk about it offline. I was actually, and it may not be completely forgiving the debt, but there is a process. And that may be enroll in a deferral program, but the deferral program is not the whole bill.
Yeah, so we can definitely talk about this offline, and I can go back and check the specifics on exactly what I'm talking about here, because I'm always, I'm always technically being very specific on my words, but we definitely can do payment plans. And we can definitely defer payments of water bills. That's an option for us. But I will look into that and bring you some options on what we can and can't do.
Okay, so that's kind of what I'm asking for. What is the program and how do people do it?
And we can bring that back, absolutely.
To enroll in the deferral program.
How do they get enrolled in the deferral program? Is that the question? Yes, of
How do
course.
they get notified? How do they get notified that there is a deferral program? And then what is the process?
We do that today, and we can continue to do that. We do, when customers become delinquent, reach out to them in a number of ways, and we do offer the deferred payment option to them. So again, we have been working to get in touch with our delinquent customers and make them aware of the payment plan option, as well as the COVID assistance that has been available. That is something that folks can do today by contacting us here at the city, through the customer call center and through our online portal.
Okay, Karen, thank you, because I have constituents calling saying that they are not automatically placed in that. They have to opt in to do that, and they're not getting contacted. So there's a disconnect somewhere, but that's totally another space, but I just appreciate what we're talking about and how we're gonna get there. Because I think infrastructure is very important. I learned a lesson from the recession when I entered after the recession, and how to deal with all the maintenance increases and fees, because we hadn't invested in our infrastructure and kept it and maintain it. So I think we're here at that point.
Yes, indeed.
Thank you. Do I have a motion that we could ask staff to move forward, give intent of a notice, bring it back in January? And we
I'll
can
move.
consider, go ahead.
So moved.
Okay. Is that sufficient?
I'm sorry, you broke up there for just a second during your statement, so could you repeat what you were suggesting the motion should be?
That we ask staff to go ahead with and file the intent for an increase? And my preference is 3 and 3. And reminding my fellow committee members that this is only the water portion. It's not the entire service bill that people get. They tend to think it's much larger than it is because Phoenix has the lowest water rates around. So I just think it's important that we continue down this path, keep our bond rating, and make sure we have a solid infrastructure in this city.
So if I could just, I'll restate so that staff fully understands. So you would like us to bring forward a notice of intent to increase the rate sufficient to support the current CIP with either a 3.5 or some alternative to that. Is that
right?
Okay.
Councilwoman Williams?
Yeah.
I would like the 3 options that were presented earlier by Karen, or what she stated, which was the 3.5, 0, 3.5, or 0, 6.5, or provide us with some options.
Okay.
With the intent.
I think they can do that.
Yeah.
Yes, certainly.
See Karen shaking her head, yes.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can.
Okay. Any more comments on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did we get a second on that?
Second? I don't think we have a second.
I don't.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought Laura was seconding it.
Sure.
I'll second it.
Sure. I second.
Okay. Again, all in favor, vote aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I clarify? That's with the 3 options, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Madam Chair, item 11 is the Curbside Household Hazardous Waste Collection Pilot Program. And here to present on that item are Joe Judice, Assistant Public Works Director, along with Jesse Duarte, Deputy Public Works Director. And I'll turn it over to Joe for the presentation.
Good morning, Chairwoman Williams, members of the subcommittee. Thank you, Mario. So this morning we're here with you, gotta make sure I have my glasses out in case I need them. This morning we're here with you to discuss with you our household hazardous waste program. And we also have recommendation requests for this subcommittee to recommend to the full council 2 items, one being a contract with a vendor to provide an at-home household hazardous waste pickup program. And that would be a pilot project for 6 months, so we want to try that out. And the second would be some minor revisions to our Phoenix City Code, Chapter 27. This is the solid waste ordinance, to clarify the definition of household hazardous waste versus solid waste and the ownership responsibilities. So what you're looking at on this slide is a representation of the typical types of materials that residents deliver to us during our household hazardous waste collection events. So why do we collect these materials separately? It's protection of public health, protection of the environment, and to prevent operational hazards and hazards to our employees and staff. So household hazardous wastes are very much like what is defined by federal law as hazardous waste, except these are things generated in people's households. So these are chemicals, paints, things that may be flammable, may be explosive, may be reactive with each other, may be toxic to human health or the environment. And so we collect these separately, obviously, to prevent those types of problems in our solid waste. Phoenix began its very first household hazardous waste collection program back in 1988. And this aligns really well with our priorities for our solid waste utility. So we're very focused on public health and safety. We see our role as protecting public health and safety now and for the future. We also are very focused on exceptional customer service. It's been a core ethic of the Public Works Department since I've been here with the City of Phoenix, and certainly still is today. And then we're very focused on opportunities to divert material from the landfill and properly recycle or remanufacture those into new products and materials. Let me talk to you a little bit about the current program structure. So the way our household hazardous waste program works today, or back in March, is an event-style program. And so the event-style program we host once a month, except for the months of June, July, and August. And it's 2 half-days, a Friday and a Saturday from 7 to noon. And essentially residents can pack up their household hazardous waste chemicals and materials into their vehicle and drive to a specific location that we have selected to bring those materials. And we'll staff that with some volunteers from Keep Phoenix Beautiful, as well as contract employees from 3 different vendors to assist those residents in properly unloading those materials. On average, we would get about 750 or so vehicles over the course of a monthly event. And then, of course, the health pandemic happened, and we had to cancel those events to ensure we could meet CDC guidelines related to gatherings. But this did give us a great opportunity to rethink the service delivery model we had now and for the future. So let me talk real quickly about the service adjustments that we've made since the health pandemic. On this map, you'll see 3 red circles. These are the 3 vendor locations. And so thanks to our vendors and our staff worked quickly to arrange to allow residents to drop off their materials at these vendor locations as a substitute for the events that we would host. Unfortunately, it's not the most convenient in many cases. If you have electronics, you'll be going to eGreen IT Solutions up on the 17, but if you also have some chemicals, you have to go down to ACT Environmental lower on the map. And so we have seen a significant reduction in the number of residents using the service since we've transitioned. We're now in the range of maybe 150 per month. And of course, it concerns us if these chemicals are being stored in people's garages, sheds, backyards, or potentially being put in the solid waste stream. It got us to thinking about the 2 different styles, the event style versus the drop-off style, and how they measure up against metrics that we would use to measure success. And so when we consider the cost of the program, participation levels, the convenience in terms of scheduling and the location for our residents, and then overall customer satisfaction, as you can see, we kind of value these as trade-offs between events and drop-off style. But ultimately on customer satisfaction, we feel like both of these models left a little bit to be desired, and there were some possibilities for improvements. I'm going to turn it over to Jesse Duarte, and I just want to say I really appreciate and want to thank him and his team for being really creative in the midst of what we're going through and thinking about how we can always improve our services and coming up with potentially a new service delivery model we'd like to try out.
Good morning, council members. To summarize what Joe has previously mentioned, our household hazardous waste program was successful through hosting events in different locations, but was impacted by COVID-19, so we switched to a drop-off program. Now, we want to discuss our research on a possible HHW pickup service, a home collection service with you. In our research of other municipalities, HHW program, we learned that participation, convenience, location convenience, and improved customer service are the benefits of having an HHW collection or home collection program. So what we looked at, what are the three components, 3 steps that residents need to do for this program? So the first step is to look at, on our website, we will have acceptable items. So they need to look at our website to look at what's acceptable and what's not. The next step is going to be schedule a home collection pickup. So there'll be 2 ways for them to schedule that pickup. They could either call in, we'll have a phone number on the website, or there will be a form on the website that they can fill out and then submit. And then thirdly, they just need to set it out on the day of their collection by 7 a.m. So collection, we anticipate, what we see now for the next 6 months, we anticipate to have about 60 collections per day and about 1,200 per month. We're going to continue to keep the drop-off just to make it so it's convenient for our residents while they can use that as well. Scheduling a home pickup and actual collection service will take place on alternative months for service and routing efficiencies. However, customers' services are number 1 priority. So if a customer misses the window opportunity to schedule a pickup for the following month, we will work with them to accommodate their needs. Through our research and discussions with the other cities, one company was consistently mentioned as a provider for the collection of service of HHW, and that was Cary Environmental. They service several neighboring cities, and they have been providing the service for many years. As you can see, the city of Scottsdale, the city of Glendale, the city of Peoria, and the city of Prescott use Cary Environmental for home collection. That is why, for the pilot program, we would like to partner with Cary Environmental to implement this program for the next 6 months. Now, how do we measure success? In the next 6 months, we're going to look at 3 components and how do we measure success in this program. The first one is going to be cost per household service. So I'll make sure we measure that. What is the cost going to be for each service that we provide? The second is the amount of material collected and actually the type of material as well that's being collected. And third, customer satisfaction. Again, we want to make sure in the next 6 months we manage these 3 working with our vendor. And with that, I'll give it over back to Joe.
Thank you, Jesse. And so, Chairwoman, members of the subcommittee, we have 2 recommendations today. So the first is clarifying some updates for Chapter 27. Again, within the definition of, there is a definition of household hazardous waste in our code now. We want to clarify that it is not part of the definition of solid waste, so that's one recommendation from our law department, as well as clarifying responsibilities of ownership and containment. And so essentially this is being done. Right now, our solid waste code is very clear. When you put your garbage and recycling carts out at the curb, it's your responsibility as a homeowner to have the materials contained so they don't blow all over the place, you don't have vectors, et cetera. We want to make sure it's clear that as they set their household hazardous waste out for collection, they have the same responsibility to make sure it's properly contained until such time as we arrive to pick it up. So that's what these minor changes would do. And in addition to that, we're requesting your recommendation to the full council approval of a 6-month contract with Cary Environmental Services for this home pickup HHW pilot program. And before I go ask for any questions or comments, I did want to point out that this pilot program service is going to be offered within our current budget for household hazardous waste. We do not need any additional funding. We can provide this service within the current budget that we currently have for household hazardous waste, and it is our full intent to measure the success of this program and come back with a recommendation on whether this type of service delivery model might be something we do more long-term. And with that, I'll take any questions or comments.
Do you have questions? Councilwoman Stark?
Sorry, I forgot to unmute. Thank you for clarifying the cost issue. I was a little concerned about that, but it sounds like it's contained within what we have now, correct? Thank you. And so after the pilot 6 months, will you be coming back, or do you want to give us an update after 3 months? Or I think this is exciting. I know during COVID-19, we started painting our walls, and so now we have some hazardous waste I would love to get rid of, but what do you foresee? I mean, I'm very curious how it's going to work. Maybe after 3 months, you could give us a report.
Chairwoman, Councilwoman Stark, we could certainly plan on coming back. I would say maybe in April-ish, if we're able to start in January.
Okay.
If we have to start in February, maybe in May, we'd come back. So maybe after about 3 to 4 months of doing the service, we could have some measurable results we can share with you, and certainly perhaps at that point have a recommendation and get your support on that.
I appreciate it. Even if it was an info only item, I'm curious as how this is going to work. But I think it's a very exciting idea. Thank you.
Councilwoman Williams?
And barking dogs, Councilwoman Pastor.
I get that. Is this like bulk trash where they come on certain days, or do I have to call?
Chairwoman, Councilwoman Pastor, yeah, this would be a little different than bulk trash. So this would be either you could schedule online, or you could contact us and schedule, and we'll actually select a specific day, and we'll notify you remind you in advance of that day, but you would set the materials out on a specific day, and you'd schedule for us to come to your home and collect. We would not have areas of the city that would put materials out and we would be coming through and collecting. It'd be very specific to a home that would schedule for that service.
Okay, because I think it's awesome. It's easier for me to put out my hazardous waste. Sometimes I don't know if it's hazardous waste or not. So then I'm questioning, do I put it in, do I not? And I think it's easier if I have if I'm able to call, because sometimes I'm not always on the internet or being able to log on to schedule an appointment. I'm still in the bubble. I call myself the bubble because I'm in 2 generations in the middle. And so I still like the calling and putting it on my calendar versus doing the internet, depending on my time. So I think it's awesome that this is an option and that many people will have the ability to schedule in many different ways. So I appreciate the work.
I have a quick question. When I call to schedule, do I get the actual date it will be picked up? 'Cause
Chairwoman,
I don't know how long you want it out on the curb.
Yeah, Chairwoman, that's correct. So when you would call to schedule, we'd confirm the materials that you have, and we would select the date that we would schedule for that pickup. And then we would have a reminder to you the day or two before that as well, to remind folks that they're scheduled for pickup on that day.
Thank you. Do I have a motion on this or further discussion?
I approve this item. Item number 11, the Household Hazardous Waste Program.
Do I have a second? I have a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Takes us to item 12.
I have one quick question, Madam Chair. I just got a
Councilwoman.
text asking if you have alley trash, should you put your hazardous waste in the alley or in front of your house?
Yeah, that's a great question. Chairwoman,
Just got it.
Councilwoman Stark, all the collections will be on the street side.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. That takes us to item 12.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, item 12 is a discussion on airport concessions relief. And as Charlene makes her way up to the table, I'll give a quick introduction of what this item is. Economically speaking, one of the hardest hit areas the COVID pandemic has been Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport. And it's clear that our council, and particularly this subcommittee, recognize the importance of the state's largest economic engine to the prosperity of our Phoenix residents and businesses. One very important component of our airport is the concessionaires that operate at our airport. And earlier this year, the council approved relief in our contracts with concessionaires for the minimum annual guarantee revenue, allowing simply % rent through December 31st of 2020. And Charlene Reynolds, our interim aviation director, is here to give us an update on the business activity at the airport, as well as a proposal for how that looks going forward. So I'll turn it over to Charlene now.
Thank you, Mario. Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee. The Aviation Department was before you on November 4th for an informational update on our concessions program. During that meeting, the department was asked to return to provide additional information relative to our concessions, and also the subcommittee requested that HMS hosts provide an extension of their recall by seniority for 24 months. The concessions program at Sky Harbor Airport is a prime concessionaire model whereby we have 2 primes operating in the food and beverage space. That would be HMS Host and SSP America. We have 6 primes operating on the retail side. Hudson, Paradies, Casa, and Stellar Partners basically operate the majority of Sky Harbor's news and gifts outlets. Additionally, we have In Motion, which is a specialty retailer, and then we have Express Spa providing services at the airport. The current contracts we have in Terminal 3 expire in 2030, typically for our concessions program. All our contracts are 10 years in length. They also provide an opportunity prior to the actual term to provide for a build-out of the concession space. In Terminal 4, those contracts on the food and beverage side expire in 2023. On the retail side, contracts expire in either 2023 and/or 2024. Want to remind the public about our employment. We are still 50% below employments as compared to last year. I know leading up to the Thanksgiving holidays, there was a lot of media attention showing crowded whole rooms, but actually the employment during that time were still 51% below as compared to last Thanksgiving holidays. And so with employments being 50% below, there is still a lot of financial pressure on our concessions program. This information was provided at our last meeting, however, it's been updated. So as of today, 58% of our food and beverage and retail concepts in Terminal 3 remain closed, and 51% in Terminal 4 remain closed. Many of our concession operations are on reduced hours. They spend a lot of time monitoring the flight schedules to maintain customer service.
Charlene, I'm sorry, I have a question. Chairwoman.
Yes, Vice Mayor.
So my question is on Thanksgiving, all those videos that we saw about crowded gates, is that just because were all the gates being used, or was it just, or were we just using the gates where we have restaurants open?
Vice Mayor, at that time, the airlines, I did speak to the station manager from American Airlines when concerns were brought forth regarding the appearance of overcrowding. they were banking their flights. So depending on what time you walked into the actual terminals, in the morning, they had a relatively high number of flights that went out at one time. If you were to come into the terminal several hours later, they had relatively few flights. And then again in the afternoon, they would ramp back up. So it was just depending on what time you actually entered the airport where you would see a number of folks at the airport.
No, but my question was, were all the gates open? Because I know there's some gates that are closed right now in Terminal 4 just because there's not enough traffic. And a lot of the restaurants are shut. Some of the restaurants are shut down. So my question was on Thanksgiving and when those videos were being posted, were all the gates being used, or were we still just limiting to the gates, to the same gates? Because I know that, I'm not sure if it's the south side or the north side, there's some of those gates that are closed. So my question is, did we open them up, or did we keep them the same?
Okay. Thank you for that clarification, Vice Mayor. Relative to American, because I spoke to them specifically, it is my understanding that they were utilizing all of their gates. We also have some gates closed within Terminal 4 because we are constructing a new apron, and so therefore in that concourse, those concessions would be impacted. I would have to follow up with you to confirm that Southwest, whether Southwest, Frontier, and the others utilize all of their gates. That depends on how many tickets that they sell, how many cancellations, but I can certainly follow up with you confirming the activity at those other gates.
That would be great, because I just think, like, we're pushing everyone to social distance. We're pushing everyone to wear a mask. I mean, look, I'm not saying that, I would never say let's cancel flights. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that we need to make sure that all the gates are open, that that we're opening up all the sides, the south side, the north side, especially in those days, because that did not look good at all. And I think we have to prepare for Christmas and New Year's, and we need to make sure that everything is open. And I don't think that we should base it based on flights. I think it needs to be based on the fact that we want to keep people safe. And, like, if you saw our numbers yesterday, we were like at 10,000 new cases just yesterday. So I just think that the airlines and everyone, and we need to keep them to that, that there's social distancing and that we're making sure that everything is open. And if you could get that to me, that would be great. I mean, maybe they are, and it's just that time of year and there's nothing we can do about it. But if there is something more that we can do, like we should try to figure out what that is.
And Vice Mayor, I will certainly get that information. But if I can provide information relative to, once we were made aware of concerns regarding overcrowding, things that we did, I immediately called American Airlines station manager. I did have a commitment from him that he would increase messaging to their passengers in the gate hole, reminding them to socially distance. I also had staff deploy over 100 signs throughout Terminal 3 and Terminal 4, immediately reminding our passengers to socially distance. On our overhead notification, we had a loop that reminded all our passengers to distance at 15-minute intervals. We dropped that messaging to every 5 minutes. And then also the mayor also taped a video that we will show on the televisions within the whole room, reminding our passengers to mask up and physically distance as well. And then I also deploy additional operations assistants to monitor what was happening in the gate hold room. So we are preparing for the Christmas holidays as well, and ensuring that everyone stays safe.
Great. No, that'd be great. Like if you can provide us with that and trying, and making sure that all of the gates are open. Look, I get it that it costs more money, but I think people's safety is way more important at this point. And I'm hoping, that the airlines and the concessionaires as well are able to accommodate for that, because I think that we have, we can put up all the signs that we want, but if we don't open up all the gates and there's not, I think this is a time where, maybe there also has to be more flights. So whatever we have control over, like, I just think that we should try to push them to try to make that happen.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Williams, can I ask a question?
Go ahead.
So Charlene, my understanding, or what I was told yesterday, was that all gates, we were maximizing and using all gates and terminals. Am I hearing that we weren't?
So, Councilwoman Pastor, the way that we currently operate at Sky Harbor Airport, we lease to the airlines all of the gates. The airport itself does not necessarily control the hold rooms. We lease those, and based upon the number of tickets that they sell, the connections, that all goes into the utilization of the gates by the specific airline. So at any given time, they could, due to their operations, utilize all gates, some of the gates, but it's just based upon their individual operations. So that can change day by day.
Okay. And then my second question is, every one of us does a recording for the airport. May I suggest that we do a recording regarding social distancing and be able to get our voices out? And if we could, I would like to also do a video, all council represented, and doing a video so that it's repeating every, I don't know, 15 seconds or whatever, every 5 minutes, or so that it's just a constant reminder.
Absolutely, Councilwoman. I believe my staff are watching this, and so our PR team, Julie Rodriguez and her team, will be on that immediately, contacting all council offices to arrange to have those voice messages recorded.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, this is another slide that I provided at the last subcommittee meeting. It just has been updated, including the October sales within the concessions program. Adding the October numbers have not significantly changed the gross sales numbers, and so we are still seeing a drop in sales that range anywhere from only 50% as compared to last year, to 75% of being down in comparison to previous sales. At the last subcommittee meeting, there were questions relative to what employees were being recalled. At Host, they recalled 347 employees, of which 253 employees accepted. It is my understanding that was based upon some folks did not provide a reason for accepting. They had accepted other jobs and/or they had family responsibilities for which they declined to be recalled at that time. SSP has recalled 131 employees based upon seniority. An additional question that we received at the last meeting was to provide the number of employees by category who were recalled. This is an example of hosts and their employees that they have recalled, because the question was looking at the ratios of managers versus employees or lower level employees. As demonstrated here, they have called back employees in several categories, just to name a few: server, bartenders, 58, cashiers, 27, warehouse employees, hosts, supervisors, and managers. SSP has recalled 131 employees within the category of food service employees, 120, and on the management and admin side, 11 employees. Casa Unlimited, one of our prime operators, have recalled 16 employees in the sales, management, and warehouse category. Hudson, another one of our retail primes, has recalled 17 employees, supervisors, sales associates, and warehouse. And Paradis Lagardère, another news and gift retailer, has recalled 38 employees in the category of sales associate, zone managers, and 1 assistant manager. Stellar Partners has recalled 25 employees in 3 different categories. In Motion, one of our specialty retailer, has recalled 6, and then Express Bar has recalled 1 employee in the regional manager category. And with that, staff recommends that the Transportation Infrastructure Innovation Subcommittee recommend to the Phoenix City Council approval of continuing concessions relief to tenants in Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport through continued percentage rent in lieu of minimum annual guarantee from January 1st of 2021 through December 31st with the additional stipulations. Stipulation 1 is when passenger employments at Sky Harbor reach 70% of the 2019 levels for a period of 2 continuous months, concessionaires will pay an additional 2% rent. I would like to add, for the stipulations, it was tied to employments, because employments are the measurement that we utilize throughout our industry. I know that previously there was a question about whether or not that could be tied to sales. I think by doing so, our rating agencies, who also predict when employments will return to normal, it could affect our bond ratings if we were to tie our relief packages to sales, because that is harder to maintain and to determine versus employments. In stipulation 2, when passenger employments reach 80% of 2019 levels, then basically percentage rent would go away and the concessions program would return to a full MAG model and/or percentage rent, whichever is greater. And stipulation 3 is if the airport receives any federal funding to provide rent relief for the concessions program, the airport would utilize those funds consistent with the guidance provided by the FAA, and the concessionaires will be required to comply with the provisions established by the FAA. And this stipulation is just to put our concessionaires on notice. There is $3.5 billion that was originally allocated in a House bill. We don't know whether or not that bill will pass. It has strong support. If it does pass, it's just notifying them that the airport then would follow all the stipulations set forth by FAA, and this may be an item that we would have to come back to this subcommittee and city council for further approval, but we will await to hear whether or not this bill actually passed in Washington. The fourth and final recommendation by staff would be to extend the term for the food, beverage, and retail concessionaires for a period of 3 years. This recommendation was based at the time relative to the letter received by our small business partners who requested an extension of time for the ability to restructure and refinance their debt. I also took a look at, again, our rating agencies, what they were forecasting for a full return of employment to 2019 levels, and then also in some discussions with industry partners. So with that last recommendation, that concludes my presentation, and I will be happy to answer any questions of the subcommittee. Thank you very much.
And Madam Chair, this is Mario. If I can just jump in on real quick on that recommendation. The two main components to that recommendation are the MAG relief with the 3 stipulations that would go along with that, and then the other was the contract extensions component, and those can be broken out separately and dealt with by the subcommittee as separate pieces in terms of how you want to move forward with those. So I just wanted to clarify that those can be handled separately.
Thank you,
Chairwoman.
Mario. I would like to handle the 2 separately. No, we have had many discussions since this recommendation come out. We talked some about changing when the employments reached 79% for 2 continuous months, that the MAG would then kick in and they get. In regards to stipulation 1, which is pretty close to what we already have on stipulation 2. So I'd like to hear comments from the committee. Vice Mayor, did you have comments?
I did. I have a couple of questions. Thank you. So this is, so Charlene, I see, if we go back to the presentation, I see on slide 6 and 7, there are some very broad bullet points as it pertains to financials. During the last round of relief, Councilman DeCiccio requested the primes to open their books or provide a more detailed breakdown. Like, has that happened already? Like, it just seems too broad, and we were saying, you know, like I said, they were asked to open up their books, and I just wanted to know if that had happened.
Vice Mayor, the information on the slide basically comes out of their POS systems. This is what I'm reporting on this slide. However, yes, during briefings, the question was asked of staff if they could obtain the actual, the debt for all capital within the concessions program and how much outstanding debt. That request has been forwarded to all the prime concessionaires. I received that question or request on Wednesday, right before the Thanksgiving holiday. Some of the primes have to go back to their JV partners because we have approximately 25 JV partners. And in some cases, the prime has financed the JV partners, and or in other cases, the local small businesses have obtained their own financing, so that request has been made. I have a couple companies that have responded so far, but we are gathering that information, and that request has been made to everyone.
Great. And then thank you for that. And my other question is, at any point since the beginning of this pandemic, has anyone from the city staff, including yourself, Mr. Bennett, or city management, been provided an opportunity to do so on this stuff?
To formally look at
At the books, yes.
That was not a request that we had previously. We have had a meeting where we were told about finances, but we did not have an opportunity to take a look at their actual books.
I think that's the piece that's very uncomfortable about all of this for me personally, is that Councilman Sal DiCiccio has been asking this for months. Like, it's not, and look, Charlene, I get it, this is before your time. And I don't know if Jim ever got to see it. I don't know if Ed ever got to see this, or Mario, or anyone, but I think this is the piece that's incredibly uncomfortable for me, is that, when you have, one of your vendors or someone that's renting your space asking you, okay, you're asking me for rent relief, but then you want to open up your books so that everyone can see how much you either really, really need it and maybe we need to do better, or you really don't. And that just, says a lot about HMS, especially in SSP, when we're asking them to open up their books and they just won't.
Madam Chair and Vice Mayor, this is Mario Paniagua. I just, to that question, I have not been involved in any review, but I do know from the city manager that there was a review that SSP provided to him and to previous airport director Jim Bennett, that showed financials at a very, very high level. That not detailed breakdowns or getting deep into the books, but just very, very high level financials that demonstrated that there was significant decrease this year compared to last year, and that's my understanding. So I just wanted to share that in the mix of this discussion.
Okay, so I just think that, this is probably gonna come up when it goes to the full council, and I think it'd be good for council members to get briefed on whatever. Not saying that we have to put it out in the world, but I think it'd be something good for council members to be able to see. Okay, for me, that's all. Thank you so much, Chairwoman.
Councilwoman Pastor. Go ahead.
I have two questions. One is a request, and then I have a question we can on this piece. But one was, can we listen to the speakers first before we go into discussion? Is that possible? And then the second question I have is that, or really a statement, is that there are members on the council that have asked for certain things. And I'll use the financials as an example. Has asked staff to, or make a request for the financials, because we hear the narrative, and we know the narrative of our businesses are closed, we're losing revenue, and at the end of the day, then we're being asked to vote on certain things, such as relief, extensions, but yet we don't have the facts in front of us, or the facts don't come in front of us to be able to make a solid decision. It's always a narrative. And so my request is that we get that narrative on paper, so that we're able to make a solid decision.
Okay,
And I don't know if that's to Mario or that's to Charlene, or can somebody step in?
well, I know that the primes, I believe, did submit to the executive, to the city manager, that they have reviewed and verified the tremendous drop in revenue for them. Are you talking about the DBEs, the individual subcontractors?
I'm speaking about the whole package. Everybody that is part of the contract. So if it's a joint venture, I don't know what the other one is, a joint venture, a leased, I don't have my paper, a subtenant, everybody that is part of the whole package of that contract.
And then can I just clarify, I'm sorry, Councilwoman, that Charlene did say the only person that did open the books was SSP, right?
So, to clarify that, Vice Mayor, it was not an opening of the books. As Mario stated, that they provided us high-level financial data, not a detailed opening of their actual financials.
Right, but they're the only ones that provided something, right?
We have.
That's the one I heard of.
Right.
So,
Okay.
to Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee, at this time, they are the only ones who have provided information. There again, I have sent out a request relative, because at that time that I sent out the request, the question was, would they provide additional information as to how much debt they had occurred or incurred relative to building our concessions program, and how much of that debt was still outstanding. I have made that request, but if it is the additional request of council that I go back to our prime concessionaires and also their ACDBE partners with the request to provide more financial information, I will do that as well.
Thank you. I just want to remind everybody, the current agreement for percentage rent expires in the end of this month, and I don't want to jeopardize. I think we need to consider that this morning to make a recommendation for extensions. That's a separate item that can be discussed now or later. Please keep that in mind. But we will go to the phone calls because I want to keep Councilwoman Pastor happy. So,
Thank you.
Matthew, are you
That's a
there?
great Christmas gift. Councilman Williams, that's great to hear that.
Matt, do you have the phone calls?
Yes, I do, Chairwoman. Our first speaker is Liren Jacobs. Liren, are you on the line?
I am, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
All right, Madam Chair and members of the subcommittee, my name is Liren Jacobs. I'm an HR business partner with SSP America. I'm here in support for continued concession relief, but mainly to make myself available to all of you for any HR-related questions you may have related to SSP. I additionally wanted to thank you all for your past assistance and most importantly for your thoughtful approach to this whole process. I'm available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think we have any questions.
If there aren't any, our next speaker is Bruce Mosby.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
We can hear you.
Chairwoman Williams and committee members, thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. My name is Bruce Mosby. I'm an ACDBE certified small business. I own and operate 2 Peach Coffee Shops in Terminal 4. I'd like to begin by thanking this committee and the entire City Council for the rent relief we received from April through December of this year. That rent relief, along with the city's grant program to the small businesses at the airport, has made a huge difference, allowing us to survive these last 8 months. We're all working very closely with Interim Aviation Director Charlene Reynolds and her team, providing our weekly reports, our employee recall reports, and communicating collectively about how to survive this uncertain time. At my business, we have recalled all our employees, 60% of whom have returned. The rest have found other employment. Unfortunately, we still don't see recovery occurring until sometime in 2022 or beyond. As a result, we respectfully request continued rent relief through December 2021. And again, thank you for your support, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. I don't hear any questions. Thank you, Bruce.
Our next speaker is Scott Welding. Scott, are you on the line? I'm sorry, it does not look as though Scott is on the line. Our next speaker is Nick Wood. Nick, are you on the line?
I am. Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee, Nick Wood, Snell and Wimmer, 1 Arizona Center, and I represent HMS Host. One of the questions that was asked at the last subcommittee meeting was that HMS Host provide a 24-month recall provision. And I shared with Charlene and with the 4 of you the provisions that are incorporated into an agreement that we would have to, of course, enter into with Unite Here. So you have the terms. I'd be happy to answer any questions with respect to that. With respect to the question about financial information and debt, we did obtain from our subs, the SBE, the amount of debt that they carry. Obviously, with Host, it's more difficult because Host doesn't carry debt on an airport by airport basis. It's all consolidated company-wide. But I do have those numbers that I could share with you with respect to the SBEs, if you'd like to have those this morning. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
And our next
I don't hear any questions. I just got a message that Scott is on the line.
Oh, okay. Let me check with IT. Hold on just a second. They are not seeing him, so if someone could text me perhaps the number he's calling from, we can look for that while we check with the other speakers. Oh, I didn't hear you, Chairwoman. I don't know if maybe you are muted.
I'm probably muted. Let's go to the next one while we find out where Scott is.
Okay. Our next speaker is Joya Kaiser.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Joya Kaiser of Cost Unlimited Enterprises, Inc. I'm an ACDE operator at Sky Harbor. I hope that each of you and your families were able to stay safe and celebrate this most unusual Thanksgiving holiday. I'm calling in today to share my thanks for the opportunity to have shops open at Sky Harbor. This is only possible because of the rent relief you've passed to date. Today, I support item 12, relief of the minimum annual guaranteed rent for the year of 2021. All of the businesses at Sky Harbor continue to work hard to stay afloat. Rent relief is the greatest single influence on our businesses keeping our doors open as we navigate through this time. It gives us the much needed breathing room to literally rebuild our businesses. Passenger traffic continues to fluctuate widely as COVID numbers grow, as other states implement closures and quarantine recommendations, and as airlines continue to adjust flight schedules. Sales may be high one week, then at a deficit the next. And actually, a weekly example is generous. It truly is a day-by-day fluctuation. Passing rent relief on an annual timeline directly gives us the budgetary ability to make quick hiring decisions when passenger levels allow. I and all the businesses at Sky Harbor remain thankful for your consideration, and I would appreciate your support for percentage rent only through 2021. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
Madam Chair. Oh, Madam Chair, I just wanted to follow up. Is she agreeing to the staff recommendation, the stipulations?
Is she still on the line?
I am.
Okay. And you're agreeing to what staff has recommended?
Madam Chair and council members, yes, I am.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
And that I have 9884, I believe, is the last four numbers on Scott's.
And I do believe we have him on the line.
Okay,
Scott, are
thank
you on the line?
I am here. I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can.
Great. Thank you. And sorry about the confusion. Morning, Madam Chair, members of the subcommittee. I'm Scott Welding with SSP America. I'm here today in support of your continued support of concessions relief for tenant companies at Sky Harbor. We're extremely grateful for your timely consideration of further rent relief actions and for the potential opportunity to claw back out of the deep financial setback caused by the pandemic by providing your tenants at Sky Harbor with additional lease term. In light of the last discussion on this matter, I wanted to be available to answer any questions you may have of SSP America. Thank you again for your time and consideration.
Anyone have any questions for Scott? Hearing none, thank you for calling.
Our next speaker is Tracy Gunderson. Tracy, are you on the line?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time to hear me out today. As many of you know, I have spoken at these meetings before. My name is Tracy Gunderson, and I worked for AMS Host for 9 years as a server. As many of you may have known, we have filed a complaint with the City Equal Opportunity Department. I have also filed a complaint with the EEOC back in October of 2019 before any of this pandemic came about. I'm here today to tell you about what happened to me when I worked at HMS House and to ask you as a city to conduct a thorough investigation before considering extending HMS House lease. For the past 3 years, my supervisor and his assistant managers have constantly discriminated against me to create a hostile work environment. Over the years, I've been subject to personal insults, badgering, bogus write-ups, quite a few, and a harsh disciplinary double standard at work. I eventually came to learn through other employees that my supervisor's unfair treatment wasn't simply because he disliked me. It was because I was an older woman, female server, and that he disliked the older servers and the bartenders. And then his view was heard quoted saying, these ladies have aged out of the business and ought to be pushed out of the practice. Indeed, he did not, in my observation, treats either older men or women in this unit this way. My supervisor has claimed to be acting this way, not just not just on his but on behalf of the higher ranking officials. HMS has saying that when the Johns, our managers, general managers, want a clean house, they call me over. The stress from this ongoing experience drove me to change shifts in order to avoid the supervisor, and as I believe contributed to a number of physical ailments I've experienced during this time, including a severe face rash, routine kidney infections monthly, and repeated episodes of high blood pressure. Without health insurance for my job, the cost of these symptoms have become too difficult to stomach.
Thank you.
I've contacted the.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Janelle Weaver.
Hello, council members. Thank you for the time. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. We can hear you.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much for your time. My name's Janelle Weaver, and I was a server at HMS for 25 years. I'm here today to tell you about what happened to me at Host. Our supervisor and his assistant would constantly mock me for being too slow, and I was asked things like, "Sir, did you take your old lady pills today?" On multiple occasions, I was silenced after approaching a group of male employees with things like, "Shh, men are talking," and I was just, told to stop nagging. These comments coincided with the consistent double standard that favored men and younger women employees when it came to table feeding, hours, and especially discipline. After complaining to HR about the supervisor's violations, we are a seniority system, okay? When I complained about my supervisor, he escalated the mistreatment, causing me to have a breakdown, and I had to go on an LOA, which is a leave of absence. Then HR denied any wrongdoing on the part of the supervisor or assistant, but just transferred them to Blanco Taco soon upon my return. I really hope that City of Phoenix, please, will you just investigate this? Can you just do an investigation on this? And I thank you so very much for your time.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Tina Collins. Tina, are you on the line? It does not look as though Ms. Collins is on the line. Our next speaker is Deborah Rutowski. Deborah, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Please proceed.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, hi. Good morning. My name is Deborah Rukowski. I worked at HMS Host for 13 years as a bartender. And shortly after the current supervisor and his assistant transferred over to Blanco Taco, they began urging me to scale back my work shifts and reduce my role at the restaurant. I initially resisted it, but eventually gave in to their demands after it was made clear to me by another assistant manager that the supervisor had placed a target on my back. Sorry. When I filed a grievance with the company about not receiving shifts in accordance with my seniority, my supervisor vowed to me directly that he would get me fired for having complained to HR, saying that older women, bartenders like myself, caused too much drama. I was later told that the same supervisor said about me words to the effect of, "Who wants to come over to the bar and see an old hag who's wheezing and coughing? We have to get her off the schedule." More generally, I noticed how much more poorly the management treated other women bartenders, and I compared it to the men in the workplace. The consistent mistreatment and pressure I experienced at work left me very stressed and corresponded with a worsening of my asthma, which landed me in the hospital almost monthly. The environment I experienced ultimately drove me to leave last year. Respectfully, I'm asking you to investigate this company, so hopefully no one else will have to go through what I went through. Thank you for your time.
Our next,
Thank you.
pardon me, our next speaker is Cheryl Grant.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Subcommittee. My name is Cheryl Grant, and I worked for HMS Host for 19 years as a bartender and server. As another aged older woman, I worked at HMS Host. I feel I was also singled out for criticism by management. After I commented on how young the servers were while idling while others worked, for example, my manager responded by telling me, "Too bad you're not younger." I also saw other multiple women treated in ways that I felt and feel were unfair, as my coworkers here have explained. During my last year of working for HMS Host, I began experiencing anxiety on my way to work. And also, I had an anxiety attack at work several times, and once I had to leave, and another I went and sat by a gate for about 15, 20 minutes, believing that all the anxiety attacks were directly related to a toxic work environment. And I thank you for listening, and I urge you to investigate this strongly.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Vivian Lavalley.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for your time and listening to us again today. I really appreciate you all. I have been working at Host for the past 7 years. My spouse has been working for them for 4, him at the airport, myself at the commissary. Primarily, I'm here to support the brave women who are speaking out today and also ask that you investigate the allegations of discrimination. While I personally was not at the airport to witness this, it doesn't really shock me, especially seeing how the recall has been going. At this point, we have people who have been temporarily laid off or furloughed that have been working for the company for 25, 30 years. You heard 13 years. And I know that people who have been recalled so far, some of them I personally trained, and they've only been working there for 2, 3 years at this point, while other people are waiting in the wings. Our sandwiches are made normally at the commissary. That has been insourced to the airport, so none of those ladies have been able to go back to their jobs. So it's becoming greatly concerning. I know it was mentioned that there's a variety of people being recalled, but it seems to be still very cherry-picked based on who they want back and not the amount of time that is served. So I appreciate your time and listening to us, and I hope that we can get this resolved so that we can all get back to work and continue making Phoenix a very happy and friendly destination for our customers.
Chairwoman, I have a question for her. Can you?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that okay, Chairwoman?
Yes.
So my question is, these women that worked in the commissary, the work that was outsourced, can you just explain to us just a little bit who are these women and how old they are? Just to give a little bit of context from what everyone's saying.
Okay, I do know one of the ladies that we had speaking here frequently was Carmen. She has been working with the company for 33 years. Most of the women who are sandwich ladies, they are over 50, over 60. In some areas, they are over 70 years old.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Carmen Quintana, and I think she was going to use a Spanish interpreter.
Aló,
Hello, mi nombre es Carmen Quintana, yo trabajo para HMS por 33 años. Yo necesito mi trabajo para atrás y mi aseguranza. Gracias por su apoyo. También apoyo a las personas. También apoyo a las personas que están hablando de su experiencia de discriminación. Gracias.
Thank you. I'm sorry, can you just translate everything she said?
Yes. And I'm just going to let her know that I'm going to revise what I captured from what she said to make sure that I'm not missing anything. Señora Carmen, ¿me escucha?
Sí.
Sí, nada más quieren que repase rápidamente un resumen de lo que usted acaba de decir. Está diciendo que usted apoya todo lo dicho hasta ahora, todo lo que han dicho sus compañeros. ¿Cuántos años son los que tiene trabajando para la compañía?
33.
33 años, muy bien. Y dice que usted necesita el trabajo para cubrir sus gastos médicos y sus gastos básicos.
Sí.
Okay. Y ¿alguna otra cosa que me faltó agregar allí?
Y que no ha regresado a su trabajo,
¿Algún
¿no?
otro punto? ¿Que no ha podido adquirir otro trabajo?
No.
¿Ha estado sin trabajo todo este tiempo?
Sí.
Okay. Muy bien. So Carmen says that she has worked for the company for 33 years. She hasn't been able to get another job during this time, and she needs to work to be able to cover her medical expenses and her basic expenses. And she is also supporting everyone that's been calling in regards to their testimonies of their experiences there with the company.
Vice Mayor?
Yes, tengo preguntas. I have a couple questions for Carmen. Carmen, ¿está ahí todavía?
Sí.
Okay. Carmen, ¿hay gente en su trabajo que tiene menos señoría que usted que están trabajando ahorita?
Okay, can you do that in English?
The question is Carmen, is there other people that are working with you that have less seniority than you?
Sí, pero ellos dicen que ellos son cocineros.
Yes, but they say that they're cooks.
Okay. And my other question is, currently, do you have health insurance?
Actualmente, mi otra pregunta para ustedes, ¿actualmente tiene seguro médico?
Pues tuve que agarrar Access porque ahí nos cancelaron la aseguranza.
I had to enroll in Access because they canceled our medical insurance there.
Okay, thank you. Gracias, Carmen.
Muy bien. Gracias.
Okay, de nada. Bye.
Thank you, Chairwoman.
You're welcome.
And our next speaker is Hewitt Kidane.
My name is Hewitt Kidane. I work in HMS Hosty for 10 years. March 12, I'm stopped. My sick day, my vacation, whatever they give for me before, May 26th, they enrollment, a little bit they give for me. A little bit after they give for me again, they stop. Maybe August, but maybe September something, they give for me 240. I Mama care, $45 a month I give. My phone, my food, it can't enough the money. I'm working, I'm ready, I'm for the working. If I'm not working, I need better insurance, I need more money, it can't enough the money. Thank you so much, see you soon.
And our next speaker is Maria Vasquez.
Hello, morning. Do you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I'm sorry if there's a little noise of my children around, but okay, my name is Maria Elena Vasquez. I have worked for HMS Post for 8 years already. until the 2019 pandemic started. I started my fourth block back on March until October. This October on 2020, they let us know that we were permanently out of the company, and they have a recall list. I understand that, but for me, it's important to have my job back, as well my healthcare insurance. Recently, I applied for access because me, mother of the 3 children, small children under 5 years old, it's important to have medical insurance. And also, if I go back to work and they give me my job, I'm pretty sure that access is gonna stop the coverage. I mean, I don't have anything against anybody, but I also wanted to mention that if I had the chance and the opportunity to talk and be able to go back to work, for example, if they recall me and say, hey, there's your job, or there's the option for you to, come back to work, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna go for it. But I also had the little fear that for me talking to you guys this morning, if there's gonna be a retaliation about myself or about what I'm saying and here with you guys. And I wanted to share that my husband and I were both working. We have a great family. We have the blessing from God that we had 3 kids, but unfortunately, 2020 had changed our lives. His job closed down, and I'm not working right now, and I'm just waiting for the opportunity to go back and have a safety work environment back on post. Or
Thank you.
Basically at this point,
Thank you very much.
Our next speaker is Dana Schneider. Dana, are you on the line? I'm sorry, they're no longer on the line. And our last speaker for this item is Victor Correa. Victor, are you on the line? It looks as though he is not on the line either, so that was the last speaker for this item.
Thank you. Brings us back to staff's recommendation. I think it's very important that we continue to do the percentage COVID relief for our operators at the airport. We want them to be successful. They play a huge role not only in Phoenix, but in this entire state, and they provide excellent service. I also think it's very important that everyone treats the employees out there in a fair manner, equitable, and really address some of the concerns we just heard. So, Councilwoman Pastor, did you have something you wanted to say?
No, I have a motion. So should I go ahead?
Yes,
Okay.
go ahead.
And I'm separating out the extension as we discussed earlier. So I move to recommend to the full council's staff's recommendation without the extension of term and with the following amendments. Add to the current requirement that the concessionaires re-employ furlough or laid off employees, that the concessionaires consider the specific challenges facing furloughed and laid off employees as a result of COVID, including the difficulty responding to a recall offer because of health or childcare challenges and possible urgent insurance needs. Concessionaires also understand that the city's desires that all airport employees be treated equitably and require that the aviation department to provide a concession update in 6 months. That's my motion.
Does this include the staff's recommendation for continuing the percentage rate and the stipulations?
Yes, I move to recommend to the full council staff's recommendations without the extension of term.
Okay, Thank you. Do I have a second? Well, I will second it. I think it's important that this continue. We need to continue to help these small companies as well as the large ones. And I understand fully what the rest of your message is. So, do I have any comments, questions from any other members of the committee? Okay. In that case, all in favor, please say aye. The recommendation?
Aye.
Those not in favor, please say nay.
Nay.
Okay. It passes 3-1. Now, for the extension part, I would like to have staff meet with the individual concessionaires and their partners, including the DBEs, to discuss the extension necessary because of COVID, and return to this subcommittee with a recommendation whether we provide a continuance of contracts on those discussions. We passed that, and staff is now directed to go talk, find out why it's so important that we continue extend the contracts. Councilwoman Pastor?
And I would like, if that's the way we're going, I would like evidence demonstrating why there's a need of an extension. I received this paper or grid, I want to say 5 months ago, I don't know how long, that broke down the financials. This one doesn't have it. I have it privately at home. And we're able to demonstrate, so I would like to see that.
Okay. I think staff heard you. Right, Mario?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
So I'll second the motion.
Is that on the financials?
Yes.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Nay? If you disagree.
I guess I'm just a little confused. But does this mean that it's first gonna go into e-session before we make decisions on anything?
Yes, I failed to mention that. I would like that information brought back to e-station so we can have a robust discussion before it comes back to subcommittee. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah, if that's the case, I'm okay with that, making sure it goes into e-session and we're all clear on what we can and cannot do. And then hopefully we'll get more information from the companies on why they need this. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks for reminding me.
And then it'll come back to our subcommittee after e-session discussion.
I would think so, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
All right, that finishes us on this item. We go to pedestrian and bicycle safety programs. Anyone have any questions? You want a presentation?
Chairwoman, so just to be clear on this last, on the airport, so just to be
Yes.
clear, like I'm gonna be a yes on that for the airport. And then also, like, I just also wanted to say, like, you know, that I just wanted to thank all the workers that spoke earlier. I know that's not an easy thing for workers to be able to do that. I think as a former housekeeper, you know, like it took me back to when I used to be a housekeeper and seeing, you know, the type of things, you know, that can happen. And I think it's also a little, you know, it's really sad to see that stuff that you see guests do sometimes. It's stuff that now, you know, that allegations and all of this whole conversation that we just had. Like, I'm just hoping that we'll be able to investigate this and try to be able to get to the bottom of everything that's happening. So once again, wanted to thank the workers for speaking. Wanted to thank you, Chairwoman, for working together so closely with me and with my team, and thank everyone on this subcommittee for taking all of these issues very, very seriously. And just like everyone, I want to make sure that this airport thrives. It is our economic engine. It is a place where a lot of people take food back home to their families, and Phoenix is thriving because of it. So I just want to thank everyone for that, and very excited to see what will happen in the future. Thank you so much
Thank you.
for that.
Okay, we'll now go to item 13.
Madam Chair, this item before you is for pedestrian and bicycle safety programs for presentation. This was requested by subcommittee members at the last subcommittee. I will say we're 2.5 hours into the meeting, so these next two items are not for action. So we are flexible. Neither of these items has to be done today if the council's wish or the subcommittee's wish is to delay these items for a future meeting.
Okay, what's your pleasure, ladies? You want to put these on the next agenda?
I would prefer it to be on the next agenda. This is Councilwoman Pastor, and I also want a conversation about the reorg that's happening with the pedestrian and bicycle safety area.
Okay, you must have got the emails this morning.
Yes.
I did too. Okay. Then we will put item 13 and 14 on our next agenda. We now call to the public. Matthew, do we have any more calls?
Councilwoman, we did not have any members of the public. We did have a person registered to speak on item 13. So just to let Marcus know that the item is being continued.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Any future items on the two we just talked about? Or the three we just talked about?
Yep.
Hearing none, we will be adjourned. Thank you.